Yar! Yar! Whoa, crap. I'm falling over some stuff here. Today this quick tip is going to be about fighting. And it's probably gonna be a little, probably gonna stir up some comments down there in the comment section. So let's talk about it. Well, let's just get to the quick tip. While using swords, don't be scared of weapons. And put your whole body into the swing, even if swinging rather slowly. It makes the fight much more of a spectacle for others to watch. As someone who LARPs as a gladiator with other guys, looking convincing while not injuring each other is super important. So the quick tip is a little longer here, but basically what the last part of this quick tip is you can make pre-practiced moves that you can sort of throw into a fight, and that way make it look a lot more interesting. Which I think is a clever way of doing, what would you call it, stage fighting. Or as mentioned here, gladiator fighting. But this is where it gets a little tricky. The big thing about this is using big swings and slow movements. If you're going for something theatrical, then yes. Theatrical, dramatical, and you want it to look good for other people. Then yes, I think this is a really good idea. This is what they use in the theater, on stage, if you want somebody to really see what you're doing, because you can't just jam something into somebody's stomach or face and then be, aha, I hit you. No, people need to be able to see it. But this is where it gets a little more tricky, because from my perspective, this is kind of like only if you're doing theatrical or dramatical work. From being from LARPed in other countries, well, I'm saying that I'm only LARPed like in Mifodea in Germany, or Conquest in Germany, and just from LARPing there and LARPing Denmark, there's actually a difference in what I would call LARP culture, or just what people tend to sort of think as the norm, because as a Danish LARPer, I'm generalizing here a bit. But as a Danish LARPer, a lot of Danish LARPers tend to fight with the LARP weapons like they can. I mean, not like drums, like as fast as they can. I mean, not like this. I mean, you use big swings. You need to move your arms around. Like usually, it's, I think one of the rules is you have to have them behind your hip. Well, it's not a rule, but one of the guidelines is that the swing needs to be behind your hip before it actually counts. But you can still, they're pretty light, you can hit them really fast. And you can move really fast, armor is light, weapons are light, all that stuff. All that jazz. And as a Danish LARPer, a lot of Danish LARPers tend to just do that because they're really light. We need the fight to be realistically. But this is where it gets tricky, because when you start talking with other LARPers from other LARP cultures, it doesn't need to be from other countries. It could just be from another LARP, or just somebody who has a different philosophy about fighting than you do. Some people fight; they slow their own movements down, and they go with the axe like this. They like really fast down, because they have the forward momentum, but then it takes a bit of a while for them to get it up because it's heavy, or again with swords, something like that. And that to them is a realistic way of fighting, because this is a heavy weapon. Well, maybe not this one, because this is actually a pretty light axe. But if it were a whole metal sword, or if it has a huge axe head, they would be more realistic, because they're heavy. It needs to go a little slower. And yeah, it would go slower if you had real metal weapons, but then again, you're not really using metal weapons. So, personally, I prefer a mixture of both. I like that you can get the theatrical and dramatical movements, like really big movements. The reason why I'm doing it in here, by the way, is because if you look outside, it's kind of dark. I know some people have been complaining that I'm not going outside to film this, and yeah, while I'm filming this, it's usually pretty dark outside, so yeah. In the future, it might get a little more light, so maybe I'll go outside, but right now, not so much. But you move your arms really big, get big movements on it, That way it looks like there's a lot more force into it. You can still move it pretty damn fast because they're still made out of foam. And if the other guy is fighting really like what I would call efficient fighting, being like really fast with his weapons, you can still switch it up and change the way or the style that you're fighting without it actually affecting something. And then throw some good movements in to make it look really good, like going and then try to go after the legs or hit it into the ground on purpose. Now, this, depending on what kind of fight it is, I would say is probably a little different. This quick tip mentioning gladiator fighting or stage fighting, which I would say yes, totally go for it. This is what it's used for. This is what it's meant for. This is actually also the technique they kind of would use in stage fighting, or it's kind of like wrestling. We all know it's fake. It looks fake. And because this is foam swords, you can get away with a little more, or foam weapons, you can get with a little more. If you want to make it really look good, do some predetermined moves. But again, if it's theater or stage fighting. If it's not like that, personally I would just say go for it. But it's a matter of personal preference and what your LARP actually allows, because in some LARPs you are supposed to sort of pretend or feel a little weight of the weapon, even though they aren't really that heavy. Which in that case would be really good if you weren't using light weapons like this, or actually used weighted weapons. That way it's a little easier to emulate the fact that it's a lot heavier. You know what? You just need to get either stronger or weaker. That way your weapon either gets heavier or not so heavy. Anyway, I had a thing I wanted to talk about, and it's come back to my mind while I was talking about this. At the Luna event we did some what's called duels, one-on-one, like we had like fighting duel, what we call gladiator duels, and just dueling matches. And I also ended up in what you could call a duel, a trial by combat sort of deal. Don't ask me how, I can't really remember. I think I insulted a noble something. I always tend to do that, or end up in some kind of mess with that. Anyway, there was a knight and I was supposed to fight him. And I remember it very clearly because he actually managed to get my sword away from me. What's it called? Disarming me. I also disarmed him, but he grabbed his sword faster. And I couldn't grab mine, so I was crawling backwards. And there were this real wooden log, like out of real wood. Not a LARP weapon like this, I mean like a really small, old, rotten old log. And I remember grabbing it really slowly and looking at this guy. Now I kinda knew him, so it was kinda okay. But I remember grabbing that, lifting it over my head really slowly and making a really big movement out of it. Like, I'm really gonna hit you, please move out of the way. And hitting the ground. Of course he moved out of the way, and I didn't hit his sword in any sense. I think I might have used the log to deflect a blow at me, but yeah, I can't remember. It was the heat of battle. Anyway, the big movement there was kind of like, you can do this in Proft, by the way. You don't need to discuss it with a guy, but do try to practice it with somebody so you have an idea of what you're actually doing. But the big movements, you need to get eye contact with them so you can see what you're doing, and it's a really good idea to do that only in one-on-one fights, because if you're doing it in a really big fight where there's a lot of people, it will just be lost on people, and people would think that you've gone crazy and just grab the first best thing and starting hanging away at people. Because the thing I was standing with was a real wooden log, and if this was used in a real LARP fight that was outside, that was like in a major battle or something, I would probably gotten like a red card or just get taken to the side by an NPC or GM and be like, dude, don't do that. It's scary. It's dangerous. But the fact that I did it in a one-on-one fight and I kind of got eye contact with him, and it was really obvious that I kind of was going for the ground, and after I hit it in the ground, I didn't lift it up. I just used it like this one time, and then just to make it a lot more dramatical or theatrical and a lot more interesting, I could sort of get away with it. Also, this was a wooden weapon. Is it made out of metal? I would never ever have used that thing. Wouldn't have used a metal hammer, wouldn't have used a metal anything that was sharp or, yeah. don't go near anything with metal. But if you have some sort of, let's say, a flag or anything, and you can sort of maybe do that in a one-on-one fight and be like, oh, I'm just gonna parry this one blow and then use it like that, and then he hit me, and then I'll throw the flag away and I can run around and get my sword or whatever I'm doing. I would say it's okay, personally. Then again, yeah, the quick tip here is going really long, but it's also because this is a really discussed topic, especially in the LARP group that I'm in, because we usually talk a lot about it when we go to Conquest, because there's the NPCs, the major NPCs characters usually use this dramatical or theatrical way of fighting, and all the rest of us, especially us Danish people, have a reputation of being like the really, we call it efficient. I'm pretty sure the Germans just call us assholes on the battlefield, but more fast way of fighting, I think you would call it. But it's a matter of what you see as realistic. Is it the fact that you are just, because the weapons are so light, you can do all these weird things with them and that way make it more realistic? Or is the fact that you're pretending it to be, or emulating it to be, like a really heavy weighted metal weapon? Please make your thoughts clear down in the comment section below, and yeah, let the discussion flow, so to speak. Also, if you have any quick tips and tricks, be sure to leave them down there in the comment section. That way we can share it out here with the rest of the LARP world. Also, hit the subscribe button if you want more LARP videos, tutorials, LARP quick tips, other things pop up in your YouTube feed here from the LarpForge channel. And you can also hit the notification bell if you want to be notified. Other than that, I don't think I have much more to say. I'm just going to wait for your quick tips and see how the discussion are going to rise down there, so to speak. See you LARPers later. Bye.